Good morning, you all. So I'll start off with a personal story. I was standing on the banks of the Iowa River, and I'd just been offered the head coaching job of the University of Iowa women's rowing team. I didn't think I could do it. The previous coach had been hired away to the University of Wisconsin, which was one of the few fully funded varsity rowing programs in the Midwest. The season was starting in just a couple of weeks, and the program, which was a club team, was being evaluated for full funding in varsity with a couple of other women's sports by the University of Minnesota, or University of Iowa. I'll get back to the right state, for the next year. And what did I know about this elite school Ivy League sport? I'd grown up on a farm in Iowa, corn-fed, landlocked, had gotten to the University of Iowa a couple years before and had fallen in love with the water, though. As you know, it's not big water. I never coached, not even Little League. So in the summers, I was picking up rocks, baling hay, and least of all, I knew nothing about coaching women. So I thought I shouldn't take the job. I talked to the co-captains of the women's varsity team who were encouraging. I talked to the men's coach, David Gomper, who was also a professor of music at the university. And when I think about it now, he was probably just about the age I am as I stand here on the stage. So he took me out for coffee, and I started off the conversation by saying, "No one wants bad news bears, David." And he listened to me sort of talking about all the experience I didn't have, all the information I didn't have, all the knowledge I didn't have. He took a long sip of his coffee and he said to me, "There are times in life where we all have to lead into the unknown, that we don't have the information we want, we don't have the experience we want, but we have to lead anyway." So I took the job. This is me. You might not recognize me because I had hair. Looking younger than I can possibly imagine ever being. I showed this picture to my 14-year-old who I left the room after because they wouldn't stop laughing. I carried around this dog-eared US rowing manual. I was actually looking for it. I know it's in a box somewhere still. I was hoping to bring it. I thought that would be a great prop because it was all battered. I talked to everybody. So I talked to coaches. When we went to regattas, I talked to those coaches. I asked questions. I gathered information. And there are lots of long nights in the boathouse working on Mercury engines and putting epoxy on the boats to repair, which I now wonder, was some of that epoxy fuller epoxy, like, in the engines? I was actually had the honor just a couple weeks ago of being at Mercury Marine, which is a client of ours, and doing a factory tour. And so I got to see what they're doing with AI, robotics. Blew me away. Like also the way that they're applying Six Sigma and Lean and like just moving tape on the manufacturing floor to actually move the equipment. But that's another story and not why I'm here. And then working on those engines growing up as a farm boy was handy and is one of those things where it's like the expertise and information that we have from our lives unexpectedly sometimes comes to be something that we actually need. And there are races, lots of races. But what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about what that season was after we explore a bit of what it means to lead into the unknown. We used to have more time. We had more time to get used to technology. We had more time to plan. We had more time to make decisions. The telephone took 75 years to get to 100 million users. The car, 33 years. The mobile phone, 16 years. The World Wide Web, 7 years. Facebook, less than 5. And to get to 100 million users, ChatGPT, which is the flagship of AI, 2 months. And this is the fastest that technology has ever moved. It's also the slowest it will ever move. So with this in mind, how do we lead when so much is unknown? So when Darius Adamczyk assumed the CEO role of Honeywell, he established 4 priorities. 1, enhance organic growth. 2, continue margin expansion. 3, lean into software as a key part of the value proposition. And then 4, deploy capital more aggressively. So the invest part of this was not only for him in terms of capital, it was also in terms of focus, digital mindset, and talent. So there's a piece. So what they did is, so what did they do? So what you're seeing up here is actually a screenshot of Honeywell Forge for aerospace. And what they did is they experimented with data and AI very strategically. And this was the thing, is like lots of experiments, pilots, these pieces. And so the company had 4 strategic business groups. They have aerospace, which we heard a bit about earlier today, performance materials and technology, safety and productivity solutions, and of course all those businesses had different agendas, software solutions, and data sets. So they launched Honeywell Forge, this is less than 5 years ago. It was a solution to improve the way that companies collected, analyzed, and act on the data. So I know, again, thinking about the situation that you all have with ERPs and CRMs and your digital experience platforms and where the datas live, same problem here. And just one of their experiments was Honeywell Forge Fleet. So for one Dutch carrier, 4 airplanes, 1 fleet in 1 year, they were able to save 540,000 pounds of fuel, in this experiment. And so this is just one of the experiments that they conducted that was data and AI driven, that was rolled out to one customer for this kind of savings. And then some of these experiments will fail, but those that don't, what we're looking to do after experimenting with these things, so what is a set of those strategically implemented pilots, experiments with data and AI, is they then integrated that back into the organization. I think this is the piece, so leadership knew that they had to offer systems that would put their customers' data to work in new ways, and this implementation actually happens faster also when we talk to each other. So I think that's the other piece in this digital mindset is, as Kimberly was saying, the importance of people is that when we look at this, is not replacing people, it's actually having people work in their highest and best use and doing less things that are not actually contributing to the organization, the bottom line, the growth, et cetera. So they went from 150 ERPs to 10, and this is what we're talking about is in the course of 4 to 5 years. So thinking about these sort of timelines, and when we talk about how fast we need to be moving, they went from 150 ERPs to 10, 1,700 websites to fewer than 100, and 27 applications to fewer than 1,000. And so this has them poised to capitalize on what again will be the fastest moving technology that we're going to see in terms of Industry XO. And I know I'm just sort of putting that out there because we hear 4.0, we hear 5.0, and I think it's just, plus N. And here's the thing, you're all more nimble than Honeywell. You're faster, you're more nimble than your largest competitors, and in the perfect position to be bold. And what could bold look like? So imagine, okay, everything that I'm about to show you is already possible, and what we're talking about is just fidelity, sophistication, and velocity of these kinds of technologies. So nothing that I'm talking about we're not talking blue sky here, we're talking this is actually happening in companies that are leaning into this acceleration. So imagine the flexibility to ask any question, summarize results, drill down to transactional detail, explore data in any direction, that you can ingest structured and unstructured data from SAP, from Oracle, from your databases, your data warehouses, your data lakes, and to pull that in, not in 12 months time, 18 months time, but we're talking like months, to be able to ingest this into an AI engine that is able to essentially rationalize that data and provide insights, and that these insights are structured for non-technical folks to pull those up at the click of a button. What if someone from customer service, tech support, finance, or sales could see the same and the entire customer history and be provided with actionable insights in real time? Everyone has the same dashboard or a version of it that's for them. What if you could strategically adjust the price and the margin on any set of products based on, let's say, a taxation change, a tariff change, a market pressure, a competitor move, that you could adjust that across the whole platform, also adjusted for the contracts that you have in place with your distribution partners, your customers, et cetera, that could happen in a matter of hours or days. And what if you had always had on knowledge of what volume, price, and supply chain adjustment would provide the most growth and the best margin profile? And essentially, you can make these decisions. We're going to ramp up production of this SKU. We're going to reduce the the cost by 1%, and this actually equals end growth over the next year. So this is all possible right now. Open data delivery is sort of a umbrella for what I was just talking about. Acquisition integration. What if you had a walled AI garden that is trained by H.B. Fuller in terms of your strategies, your priorities, your SOPs, your approach to market, all that, and you could, when you acquire a new company, feed all that data into your walled garden, and that would generate automatically your change management plan, communications, recommendations for operations rationalization, et cetera. And so essentially what you could do is accelerate the integration of these new companies into the organization and have them performing faster and more smoothly. Let's see. And the other piece of it is, what if all those weeks and months of looking for or collecting or putting together these documents, these assets, routing, reviewing, took hours and days instead of weeks and months? And then digital twins. Lots of talk on digital twins. And I think there is actually definitely a continuum of the sophistication of the application of digital twins. And so what I'll do is I'll take a moment on thinking about the digital twin. Is effectively what you're looking at with the digital twin is you have your product, or your facility or your manufacturing, and essentially what the physical thing is, and you have entire replica with all the stats and behaviors as a digital version of that, and that with a digital twin, you can actually run all the simulations on what would happen with application. Like a good example of this would be, let's say if instead of shipping blocks of adhesive to a key partner, you could actually model that via a digital twin collaboratively with them and actually figure out what that application should be without having to turn on a single facility line, without having to deal with the logistics, without having to deal with the production, without having to send it away, without having to deal with errors. And you could do that all in real time. And what if you could do that for any new product or reformulated product across a number of applications, your industries, your MSDSs, et cetera, and you could do this, you could render this fully from a screen. Content supply chain. Imagine the ability to confidently deliver the right content in the right channel to the right customer in the right context. And so what this could mean is, what if your distribution partners were pushed the latest information in MSDS of a product when it got updated in your systems, automatically adjusted for what their order history is, what their inventory is, what they need to know, and that goes out automatically as opposed to calling up someone and saying, hey, where are these latest data sheets? And instead what that is, again, with human monitoring, oversight, but that would all get pushed out, and that would also get pushed out into their systems to be able to handle as well. What if customers were proactively provided application and technical troubleshooting information based on their orders, what industry they're in, and also expected issues? Like, you all know that there might be a problem of this application, like we know that this one's actually a much more complicated setup, and this gets all pushed out proactively based on what the product is, what the customers are doing. And what if this level of customization was possible for all customers? What would that mean for how your people are able to use their time the best? The level of customer service they can provide, the level of consulting, the level of cross-sell, upsell, the way of actually thinking about these companies that you're integrating and being able to move those into the market faster. So That year, as head coach of the Iowa women's rowing team, I led into the unknown. Thankfully for everyone involved, it was not Bad News Bears. We won a number of races. We placed in a number of races. And then the University of Iowa decided to fully fund the program and make it a varsity sport the following year. And so I was watching actually with a lot of, with Caitlin Clark, and the basketball tournament is knowing where they trained and played, and like watched that with a lot of sort of pride and excitement. So H.B. Fuller has a bold history. A long history of invention, of creation, of global impact. And again, you're nimbler than a Honeywell. You're nimbler than your largest competitors. And leading into the unknown requires boldness. It requires investing, experimenting, and integrating. The timing of that was not what I intended. Do you see that? I said the words, and I was like, oh yeah, I didn't click the things. But the other thing is, it requires imagining what could be. And so the things that I showed are just a handful of what's happening in terms of industry XO and AI and in data. But you're perfectly poised for the work that you're doing, the digital transformation, the supply chain transformation, the knowledge that you have, the talent, the expertise, the passion in this room. And I'm excited to see what this next year brings, because this is your moment. Thank you so much.